this is Dr. Bipin Panda, Associate Professor, Gayatri College of Pharmacy. Now, today I will make you understand what is congestive heart failure, which is called as CHF, and it's the drugs used for the therapeutics of the congestive heart failure. So, congestive heart failure or CHF, it is the condition in which heart fails to pump required amount of blood to the systemic circulation. You know that the function of a heart in the body is just like a pump, water pump. Likewise, water pump, the heart receives deoxygenated blood, commonly called as impure blood, and it sends it to the lungs. Then it again receives deoxygenated blood from the lungs and send the pure or oxygenated blood to entire body circulation. So the function of heart is just like acting as a pump in the body. The efficiency of heart is measured in the term cardiac output, CO. So what is cardiac output? Cardiac output is the amount of blood pumped by heart in 1 minute. So this cardiac output is the multiplication of stroke volume and heart rate. Stroke volume is the amount of blood pumped by the heart in 1 beat. Heart rate, it is the number of beats in 1 minute. So normally stroke volume is 70 ml, means in 1 beat the heart pumps 70 ml amount of blood. Then the heart rate is normally 72 times in a minute. That means heart beats 72 times in minute. So the cardiac output is 70 into 72, that is nearly 5 liter in 1 minute. That means the heart pumps nearly 5 liter blood in every minute in our body. So when the heart will fail to pump due to either reduction in stroke volume or reduction in heart rate, the body will suffer from ischemia. Each and every cell of the body will suffer from ischemia or deficiency of oxygen supply. That condition is called as cardiac congestive heart failure. So congestive condition of congestive heart failure, either stroke volume decreases or heart rate decreases. So then will tell how the stroke volume decreases. The stroke volume depends upon 3 factors: preload, afterload, and contractility. What is preload? Preload is the ventricular filling pressure. Means preload is the pressure in which the ventricle fills by the blood or deoxygenated blood comes from different vena cava. The superior vena cava and inferior vena cava, they drain the blood to the heart. So the rate of heart, it determines the rate of stroke volume or amount of stroke volume. So when preload decreases or preload increases, particularly in case of hypertension, the stroke volume decreases. Similarly, afterload is the ventricular empty pressure, or it is the pressure in which heart pumps the blood to cardiac circulation. So when afterload increases, automatically the stroke volume decreases, particularly in case of hypertension. In hypertension, the afterload increases and it results decrease in stroke volume. Third factor is contractility. It is the most important factor. The contractility means the contractility of myocardial cells. The contractility of when the contractility of a myocardial cell will decrease, automatically the heart will face the pumping problem. That is why the stroke volume will decrease. So mostly this preload, afterload increase occurs or alternation occurs due to long-term hypertension. The contractility power of a myocardial cell decreases due to many factors like thyroid problem, calcium problem, and other channel problem. So this congestive heart failure is mainly occurs due to either congenital problem, means the problem which occurs from the childhood, the involved myocardial contractility is less, or due to long-term hypertension. So you have to remember that long-term hypertension or high blood pressure is the main cause of a congestive heart failure. If a person will suffer from hypertension for a longer time, after some day he will suffer from congestive heart failure. Congestive heart failure is a complication of hypertension. Next we will discuss the factors about the heart rate. The heart rate depends upon many factors like thyroid, like sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, and calcium ion. If calcium ion concentration in the body is less, heart rate will be less. If the physical exercise in the body less, heart rate will be less, therefore resulting decrease in cardiac output and congestive heart failure. Similarly, when body temperature will be also less, the heart rate will reduce, resulting congestive heart failure. Thyroid problem for a longer time, sympathetic problem or less sympathetic stimulation or more parasympathetic stimulation will also cause the decrease in heart rate and finally decrease in cardiac output. So cardiac output decrease is mainly the complication of congestive heart failure, decreasing calcium ion concentration, thyroid problems or decreased thyroid concentration in the body, less sympathetic stimulation and more parasympathetic stimulation. Next we will discuss what are the drugs used for the congestive heart failure. You have to remember that in congestive heart failure, broadly two types of drugs used. One is inotropic drugs. The drugs directly increase the contractility power of the myocardial cell. That means they increase the contractility power, finally increase the stroke volume and resulting increase in the cardiac output. So one type of drug they increase the contractility power of the cell. Second type of drugs are the antihypertensive drugs. The antihypertensive drugs include calcium channel blocker, there may be AT antagonist, there may be SE inhibitor like captopril, enalapril, and there may be diuretics. So antihypertensive drugs, they don't act mainly in the heart, but they act in the peripheral circulation. They simply reduce the blood pressure so that the afterload decreases and it becomes easy for the heart for the pumping. That is why the antihypertensive drugs are used also in case of a congestive heart failure. Then I will make you understand what is the inotropic drugs or how they increase the contractility power of the heart. The inotropic drugs like cardiac glycosides, your dopamine, dobutamine, amrinone, milrinone, glucagon, these are the drugs used for the increasing the contractility power of heart muscle so that the stroke volume increases. First I will discuss about digitalis. The digitalis or particularly the compounds digoxin and digitoxin are the compounds found in the leaf of the plant Digitalis purpurea of the family Scrofulariaceae. The digoxin and digitoxin, these are also known as cardiotonics. There is a difference between cardiotonics and cardiac stimulants. The cardiotonics, they increase the contractility power of the heart, while the cardiac stimulants, they increase the heart rate. So the cardiotonics, they act on the sodium potassium ATPase pump of the digitalis, pump of the cell. So when the sodium potassium pump is blocked, automatically the sodium in this channel, the sodium goes out of the cell in the exchange of a potassium ion into the cell. So when the digitalis blocks the